everyone, it's Holly and I'm here with a video I have been wanting to do for a couple years now. Ow, Murphy. And the month of romance is like perfect for this. I haven't even started filming any of those videos, spoiler, but it's fine. So I wanted to do this one. Obviously you know what it is from like the title, and that is that I'm going to reread my first romance. So this is not like the book I read. That was my stepmom's. I don't even know if she still has it. I bought this from Thrift Books last year, specifically for this project, like this moment. Plus I owned the other books in the series, so it makes sense. Apparently I didn't care enough. I definitely stole her copy of the second book because that's my favorite in the series, or at least it was. So I think I've shared this story before, but I'll share it again. I read my first romance novel. I feel like everybody has like their romance novel like story, and I just think it's so interesting like to hear about, like when side note, when Joanna Lindsay, she passed away at the end of last year, I think in October, but they didn't announce it until much later because her family was really like grieving, which is understandable. And I saw a lot of love for her, of course, on Twitter, but there was so much of people sharing about how a Lindsay was their first romance and everything, and I think that's awesome. So, and obviously my first one was another stalwart of the genre, and that is Nora Roberts. So I was like 15. It was the summer before my sophomore year of high school, so it was 2004, summer of 2004, and I have no idea why I remember this moment so clearly, but I do. We were outside. I was at my dad's house. We were outside. There was a fire. I was out there with my dad and my stepmom, and I, like, you know, the rebellious teenager I was, I would make fun of, not like in a really mean way, but I would make fun of like romance novels and stuff, and my stepmom would read them. So my dad made a comment while we were out there that I shouldn't make fun of them and that instead I should read one. And so I think in retrospect they had actually had this conversation, because my stepmom was immediately like, I have one I think you'll really like. It's really funny because the way she pitched this story to me was, she said, it takes place in Ireland and there's fairies. Okay, so it does in fact take place in Ireland. There are in fact fairies, but the fairy element is so minimal. It's like, doesn't even bear mentioning. This is a contemporary romance, not like a paranormal or anything. So she gave me her copy and I read it, and like apparently I'm going to take this time to like tell you stories about this. So I remember her stopping me in the hallway like one night going to bed, and she was like, oh, how are you liking it, like, and everything. Stop, Murphy. And I was like, oh, it's fine. And I remember specifically, what are you doing? Stop. Saying, oh, they just had sex. I probably didn't actually say sex because that was like a weird, I don't know, I was a very prudish person, I still am. And she said, which time? And I remember being blown away by this because the idea that a book, I mean, I don't think any books I had read at that point had sex in them, even like off-page sex, and even like movies and stuff. If they did, like, you know, it's like that Disney movie thing, which yes, I know it's a Disney movie, but like a lot of times you have like the big climax is like one kiss. And so I think that's just how I pictured stories being structured, and I didn't think that like they would have sex again. Like, I don't know, whatever. I I don't remember anything else about this. I remember liking it well enough. We'll see. I don't think I've ever reread it. I know I've reread parts of it because there is some hardcore sequel bait in here. At least I remember there being sequel bait for the couple in this book, who are Sean and what is her name? Brenna. And they are your girl's like favorite trope of the like bickering couple. And so I had to read this. And so I own this. It's obviously a library copy. I have no idea. I read this book so many times, and I know that I reread scenes in here for the Sean and Brenna moments. Because this series and books or whatever, the series is, I think it's called The Gallaghers. Yeah, The Gallaghers of Ardmore trilogy. So it follows a family. Last name is Gallagher. You have Aiden, who is the hero in this story. He's the oldest. Then you have Sean, and then you have, what is your name? I should have grabbed this one. I read this one, I think, after I started my channel. Darcy. She is the sister. And it is each of their individual romances. And so this one, you have a girl, what is your name? Jude. Really interesting. I think she gets a divorce and she's just looking for something different. So she leaves America, she goes to Ireland, she's staying in this like cottage, and she ends up going to the pub, which is where the Gallaghers work and they own the pub. And she ends up meeting Aiden, and you know, they fall in love and stuff. And then like Brenna and Ian, Brenna is in Ireland and lives in this town, and they like grew up together and everything. And I think this ends up being like, it's not fake dating, it's like friends with benefits kind of a situation. Which actually I feel like I don't read a lot about. I have a feeling that reading this is gonna make me want to read this. My cat just got in his carrier. Why? He hates it when I put him in there. So yeah, I don't know why I'm going so long on this. I'm sorry. This is not, like, the whole video is gonna be me like hopefully vlogging while reading this. I will say, shortly after reading this, I did not read Heart of the Sea. Obviously, I read that years and years later. Like I said, I think I read that on this channel. But oh my gosh, Murphy, you're such a troublemaker. Shortly after reading this, I moved on to historical romance because that was really the majority of what my stepmom read. And I cannot, unfortunately, remember my first historical. I really wish I could. I'm sure it was a Joanna Lindsay because that's what my stepmom had a lot of. And I'm almost positive it was a Mallory novel, but I can't remember which one. There's like two books that stand out in my mind from that series. There was one, I think it's one of the early ones, and the heroine is like 17, and I remember that kind of bothering me even at the time. I think that's why I remember it. And then the other one was a, like, I call it a Mulan story. I feel like people used to call it cross-dressing, but I don't think that's like a good thing to say anymore. But it's where a girl pretends to be a boy, and I have never particularly liked stories like that. I've talked about this before. I don't like lying, and I feel like that's a lie, so they make me very uncomfortable. It doesn't mean I haven't liked stories like that. Like, Mulan is one of my favorite Disney movies, but it does make me very uncomfortable to read about. So I remember that one as well, but I don't know if it just had an impact because it's a trope I don't like, or if it really was my first one. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it was a Mallory novel by Joanna Lindsay. So some of my first romances were by some of like the biggest authors in the genre. Like, you know, whatever. And then from then on, I just went to the library and I just like got books and I just tried things and I just experimented and figured things out. And I had no idea what like Goodreads was. I mean, I'm sure Goodreads like wasn't around when I started reading romance, but like even the internet was like hard to navigate and everything. Like, I don't know. Anyways, so I'm going to reread this. I am really nervous because I don't know how old this book is. Let's see. Oh my gosh, freaking Nora Roberts. She's a freaking badass though. Like, she has written so many books. 1999. Okay, so yes, this was published in 1999. So this book is 21 years old. So I'm sure there will, I mean, maybe not. I would not be surprised if there was like problematic elements. I will say, whether this makes me a bad person or not, I'm not easily bothered by what a lot of people would call problematic elements. But if they are in here, I'll try to talk about them in case you care. I'm really just hoping that this is like a fun experience and I enjoy myself doing it. I'm so scared. I think that's why I'm still talking, is I'm just trying to put this off. And I'm reading an arc right now and I hate it. So I'm like, well, I'll read this at the same time and it'll make me feel happier. So hopefully that's the case. I don't know. So I'm gonna get started reading. I will let you know how it goes. I've already changed. I left my sweater on, but I've changed into my pajamas. These are like joggers, which I've never even worn a jogger in my life. I love them. Like, I just like the way they fit. I feel like they look good for a sweatpant. Is that weird? Am I now a jogger person? Are joggers going to replace leggings? I don't know. Okay, so let me go read this. Oh, you know what's great? I should have acted like I did this on purpose. I feel like I'm wearing a very frosty lip today, which I just like unapologetically, but I feel like it's a very 90s, early 2000s lip choice. So I totally did it to be with the era of this book. I don't know. This is fun. Maybe I'll read this while listening to like Irish music or like Celtic Woman, which I love. One of my favorite bands, groups, you know, that stuff. And this is also probably going to make me want to rewatch Legend of the Leprechauns, which was probably a mediocre made-for-TV movie, but I loved it. Starring people such as the Quaid brother that went crazy years ago. Other famous people I should know the name of. Whoopi Goldberg. Oh, beautiful. But I'm here for the Irishness. I'm here for the Gallaghers. Let's go, Murphy Cat. Let's go read a book. Oh, I'm in the middle of filming videos. But I thought I would update on Jewels of the Sun. Oh my gosh, it's snowing so much. I have to go do laundry, and I like have to go do it at my dad's because I told him I would go out to his house. I mean, if the roads are really bad, I won't go, but I think they're gonna be fine. Anyways, so I thought I would update on Jewels of the Sun. I'm like 200 pages in. It's so weird because like they just had sex. Sorry, spoilers. And I feel like in a lot of ways that's really late, and it didn't feel late in the context of the story. And it was very tame, and I don't know, like I haven't read a Nora Roberts in forever, so it could just be Nora, or it could have been the time it was written. I don't know, but it's so weird that it was so different. It was literally like a page, and that's just like not what I'm used to now reading in romance. Also, I was totally wrong. The fairy element is way bigger than I remember it being. Like Jude, the main character, the heroine, she meets like so the fairy element is that there was this human girl named Gwen and this prince of the fairies named Carrick, and they like fell in love, but he kind of like ruined things, and so they never ended up together, and so now they both like pine for each other. I think the point of the story is that all three couples like eventually accomplish some sort of thing, and by getting together they allow Gwen and Carrick to get back together. I think that's how it works. But like Gwen like haunts the cottage that Jude is staying in, so she's seen her a couple times, and she's actually talked to Carrick a couple times, and I totally forgot about that. So I totally undersold the fairy element. I mean, it's still not a major thing, but it's definitely smaller. And this story is a lot more about Jude kind of like figuring out who she is, I guess. I don't know. And not that that doesn't happen in romance now, it does, but I think a lot of times it happens more while in a relationship, and this is so much more of her figuring that out and then realizing that she can have a relationship with Aiden, like she just plans on just sleeping with him. But it does feel a little different. It does feel a little dated. There's tapes. She has a computer, so she has like a dial-up modem because it's 1999. The clothes are a little dated, but not anything crazy. And I mean, I've read Susan Elizabeth Phillips before, so, and she has some old ass books, so that's fine. But content wise, I don't think it's dated at all. Like, I don't think anybody has said anything that would be controversial or anything like that. I mean, I'm not very observant of those things, so, you know. But, you know, there's like not cell phones or anything, but it's fine. But I am enjoying it. I think it's definitely like a 4-star read for me right now. And everything, and I'm loving Jude is friends with Brenna and Darcy, who are the female heroine characters in the next 2 books, and I'm kind of liking that relationship, but I'm really into friendships and everything in my fiction, so that's not much of a surprise. But I am liking it. It's fun. Yeah, that's all I've got. So I'm filming some videos right now for the month of romance, and I realized I never finished the vlog for the Jewels of the Sun reread. So I thought I would try and do this real quick. I ended up giving it 4 stars, which was awesome. And I think I might have talked about this a little bit in one of the updates. I thought it held up really well in a variety of ways. I totally do want to read Tears of the Moon. Hopefully it gets read in February. Oh my gosh, I want to read it so bad. I want Brenna and Sean in my life again. And hopefully I love that one just as much as like 16-year-old me loved it. But I was really glad that I reread this. It made me so happy, and I was so glad that it wasn't disappointing. I think that's why I had put it off for so long. But yeah, I thought it was a great book. I think if you were interested in it, give it a shot, man. It holds up. So, you know, that's great. And I think I might try to read more Nora. You know, this is really the only Nora I've ever read, and I feel so ashamed by that. So if you have any Nora recs, leave them down below. I think my mom has read some Nora, which is weird. She's like reading romance now, and we like just don't talk about it really. Like, I used to secretly read romance novels in my bedroom and never let her know. I would like literally read them against my door so that nobody would walk in and find me reading them. I don't know. Because just to be clear, like my dad and my stepmom were the ones that had me read romance, not my mom. And I was like embarrassed that she would say so. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, so maybe I'll talk to her about it. We'll see. Nora is a boss. Total respect to her. So yeah, those are my thoughts. If you have read this, let me know. I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk about it, but it's not a surprise. The book's like 20 years old. Yeah. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow for another month of romance video. I'm so weird. Okay.